Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers have 26 games to make something happen with this new roster. Can they get it done? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, it's always going to be free for you. It is never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out with a great community of Lakers fans that is now over 11,000 subscribers strong. Just a lot of excitement and a lot of interest there. Really good group of people leaving comments, talking to each other, talking to us in a dare I say, Andy, even a respectful way.
Dude, I'll just say it. Our community rocks.
Yeah.
Our community is awesome. Everybody treats each other really well. You know, when you host something like this, you're always going to hear from a few people now and then with something not as nice to say, but for the most part, people are really awesome to us. Like, we've done this in different versions before. You know, we used to host the LA Times Lakers blog, and let me tell you, that place could be downright toxic in the comment section. That ain't the case here at all. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, it is an oasis of civility and enthusiasm in an otherwise toxic hellscape.
It's what this country should be, Brian.
Yes, it is. So we got some stuff that we want to get back into. We have not talked about everything that we need to talk about regarding the remade Lakers roster. Those guys were not available on Thursday in the 115-106 loss to the Bucks. All the new dudes and LeBron James also not available. And you can do the math there, Andy. That doesn't leave you a whole lot of people. So the result was fairly predictable. So a couple things though from that game to take away that we'll get into, but also kind of want to look ahead. And it's 26 games basically to get yourself into the playoffs in one way, shape, or form. The Lakers are still thinking the regular playoffs, not the play-in, but I think anything. Either of those two options will work in the end.
Time ain't on their side at the moment.
It is not. And so beggars may not be able to be choosers there. Got to get yourself into the top 10. Can they do it? So that's coming up in the show. But look, I mean, the final score, 115-106 again. I don't think anybody really expected the Lakers to go out and win this game on Thursday. Anything, though, stick out to you as important? Schroeder had 25. Walker, one of his best games in a while, 15 points, 18 for Reeves. What stuck out to you, though?
Well, like you said, Dennis Schroeder was terrific. I thought he was the best Laker on the floor by a pretty sizable margin. Anthony Davis,
I was about to say that right there is a clue about maybe something that didn't work. Because if Dennis is your best player, the guy who's supposed to be isn't.
Yeah, Anthony Davis, 23 points, 16 rebounds, but 9 of 22 from the field and 5 turnovers, also 5 fouls. And in particular in the second half, he spent this game in pretty extreme foul trouble that affected his aggressiveness, particularly on the defensive end. There were a few times where he basically just allowed drives to the basket because he had to keep his hands, in his pockets. And Darvin talked after the game about how AD is still finding his rhythm, still finding his touch, like getting his legs back a little bit, timing all of that stuff. And, that even with a subpar effort, he can still get you 23 and 16. And that is great and speaks to how talented AD is. That being said, since he's returned from that long absence, on balance, he's been underwhelming. He hasn't been bad. Like, it would be way overstating it to say he's been bad, but he has not been great either. And his I don't think his presence has really been felt, much less felt in the way that this team really needs it to. Like, they need Anthony Davis to be, if not the dude that was an MVP candidate playing at that level before getting hurt, pretty damn close.
Yeah. I
He just
think
hasn't been.
I agree. And, he addressed, like, the idea that, his body language on Tuesday that everybody was talking about, it wasn't good. And he addressed it, like, obviously he says there's no problem with him and LeBron. He says he's just really ticked off about losing. He was kind of consumed by losing that game. And look, the Lakers were not good on Tuesday. They were, they were not good. He was not good. And so, if you look past the celebration sort of LeBron and the pursuit that LeBron was on Tuesday, the underlying game, I don't blame Anthony Davis for being upset about it, because watching it, most Lakers fans were angry too.
No, it's what we both suspected was likely the case too.
But so I mean, the relationship between LeBron and AD is too well established for me to be like, hey, something, there's something between those guys. But the mood was just off, and I felt like AD's sort of just had that sort of edginess. There's something felt off again on Thursday in terms of him out there. Foul trouble will do that on a nationally televised game when you kind of feel like the entire win or loss is going to be on your shoulders. But like you said, it reminds me of how we talked about him early in the year, because for the first, whatever it was, 15 games before, the injury, he was good. Wasn't anything wrong, but he wasn't close to what the Lakers needed. Like, this was a roster that was built around LeBron and AD being, elite, not just good, but elite. The difference between, we did whole shows on like what it means, like the difference between all-star level Anthony Davis and first team All-NBA MVP candidate Anthony Davis. I think with these new trades, the margin for error that the Lakers have over time should grow. So you should find situations where they could get by with an average game from AD or an average game from LeBron in ways that they haven't been able to for most of this season. But I don't think it's shifted that much. Like, you add these guys and the idea is your team's gonna be more competitive. But if they want to make noise, if they really want to compete in a 7-game series with Denver or Phoenix now, and some of these, the Clippers, other teams that have improved, it's still LeBron and AD have to be pretty damn near elite, or they're going to lose those series pretty easily, even if they get in.
Yeah, and you cannot reasonably expect LeBron to do more over the next 26 games of the regular season than he's been doing. Like, there is an onus on LeBron once the play-in / playoffs begin, and if the Lakers are a part of it, he's going to have to find a way to crank up certain things, like defensively, pick his spots better, whatever. But LeBron held up his end of the bargain while AD was out. Like, I don't think anybody can argue otherwise in a reasonable standpoint. AD just has to get back to carrying that type of load and putting up that type of, not just numbers, but impact.
It's presence. It's yes. Presence, because the numbers are fine. They're not. I mean, look, his numbers when he was going through that MVP stretch were dominant numbers. Like, and these are like, if you go out and and as an NBA player, average 23 and 16, like, you're going to be making a lot of all-star teams. You're going to be making a lot of money. But with AD, it really is. He has always been a guy where it's not simply about the counting stats and the box score number and all that. It is like, hey, what did it look like on the way? How did it go? And to his credit, I mean, I thought he was trying to be aggressive in the fourth quarter. He was engaged in the fourth. The foul trouble hurts. And the fact that, Milwaukee could really load up on him defensively. This was not an easy game for him to make waves, but just in these games since he's returned, that's what's been missing. That
You know what it is for me?
that feel where you feel him, as we've talked about,
and especially where I think where you feel Anthony Davis the most, where he feels the most like, holy crap, that dude's on our team. Wow. It's on the defensive end. When he does the stuff that pretty much nobody else in the league can do. And that's really the part where it's felt like his return has been pretty muted. Like, the defense has not gotten any better since he's been back. Like,
the hope
hasn't.
No, the hope is that it can improve a little bit with some of the changes the Lakers have made on trade deadline. If you haven't heard it, we did a mini show on Thursday, kind of summing up some of the trades that the Lakers made on Thursday, looking at what they did on Wednesday as well. When we come back, though, Andy, next, let's get into kind of what we think shakes out. The Lakers have essentially a brand new roster, 6 new players. 5 of whom should, or at least could be, in the rotation. So Saturday in San Francisco to play the Warriors, most of these guys are expected to be on the floor, except for Mo Bamba. He's still suspended. So what's it going to look like? Talk about it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Rocket Money. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? If so, friendo, you are not alone. 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. Maybe it's an unused Amazon Prime account, a Hulu account that you never even activated or used in the first place. And there's a great app that I take advantage of that helps me to keep track of my expenses. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money. It used to be known as Truebill, and the app shows you all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want. Rocket Money can even find you subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for, like stuff that you signed up for 5 years ago, never really used, but forgot you were getting charged for, or a double charge, that sort of thing. And just cancel a subscription. All you got to do is hit cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. It could save you hundreds per year. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
All right. So in total, if you look at what the Lakers have done, it's 5 players that were turned over on Wednesday and Thursday. And then if you go back to Hachimura, what is that, like 2.5 weeks ago at this point, it's essentially 6 new players in under 3 weeks. It's a brand new roster. The Lakers on Thursday ahead of the deadline shipped out Thomas Bryant to Denver, and then used the draft picks that they got in that, the second round picks that they got in that, helped bring Mo Bamba to LA. So they essentially traded Thomas Bryant for Mo Bamba to fill that kind of backup center role, assuming Anthony Davis starts at the 5.
Although technically traded Patrick Beverly from Mo Bamba.
Right.
Just to let you know who actually left.
Yeah. Functionally, they swapped out, that role, but out the door, in total, it's Russell Westbrook, it's Patrick Beverly, it's Juan Toscano Anderson, it's Damian Jones, and Thomas Bryant. And you're talking about Hachimura, and then Wednesday's guys with Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, and then you bring in Mo Bamba and Davon Reed, who also comes as part of the trade with Denver. Probably doesn't play a lot with Lakers, hasn't played much over the course of his 4 years in the league, but 5 new guys, Andy, all of whom could reasonably be expected to be rotation pieces. Reiterating, that is good work, because not all the guys they sent out were rotation guys. But it also creates the need to reconstruct a rotation here. So what do you think it looks like? What do you think the starting lineup looks like? What it looks like? Who do you think gets squeezed? There's all kinds of stuff Lakers have to figure out real quick.
Yeah. First of all, I want to reiterate too. I think Rob Pelinka did a fantastic job over the last 48 hours. Did something that I know I have emphasized a lot over the last month. Put yourself in a position where you may be building next year's team now, just giving yourself, at least if nothing else, the opportunity and possibility of continuity. and, really building something around LeBron and AD, because they can keep all these guys around next year if they want to, or the majority of them, or maybe they can use them as pieces to trade out for somebody else, but just their optionality alone is better
Yeah.
moving forward, in addition to the roster being better now. But to get back to your original question, as far as the starting lineup to begin with, and Darvin was asked about this, and not surprising, he did not commit to anything, but he noted that he was looking for balance in the starting lineup and wanting to avoid, as he said, carbon copies or too much of that in terms of skill set. He emphasized defense. He actually thought it was going to be a pretty fun thing, looking to try to mix and match the old and new, even acknowledging they don't have much time for fun moving forward. But the starting lineup I would like to see through that prism of trying to have balance and avoiding carbon copies would be Dennis Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell, Troy Brown, LeBron, AD. D'Lo, LeBron, and AD are the only three that I'm absolutely positive will start. And I'd say I'm about 80% sure Schroeder. What I think it's going to be is Schroeder, D'Lo, Rui, LeBron, AD, unless they decide between LeBron and D'Lo, there's enough playmaking in the starting unit. So you play Schroeder off the bench, and then I imagine either Troy or Austin Reeves would take that spot, or maybe they decide they've got enough scoring and they want to give a little bit more from the wing. So you play Rui off the bench, and again, I would say Troy Brown getting that slot. But my guess is that it's going to be Schroeder, D'Lo, Rui, LeBron, AD. Though again, I would go Schroeder, D'Lo, Brown, LeBron, AD.
You can argue for a lot of you can make an argument for Vanderbilt in the starting lineup, and I think where the Lakers are going to have to make some compromises, like let's say they bring this roster back next year, more or less what it looks like now. These lineups could actually change pretty significantly, but Vanderbilt next to Anthony Davis sounds pretty good defensively. There are a lot of things you can do with that to create a much tighter defense, but the spacing issues become kind of a question. I feel like it's not that Vanderbilt, LeBron, AD, like that can't work as a group, but there are potential, because Vanderbilt is not a guy who spaces the floor in the slightest, in any real meaningful way. It could create kind of spacing issues. Maybe that if you do want to start Vanderbilt, then you really want to think about what kind of shooting are we putting around here to open up the floor in the biggest way. Maybe that looks like D'Lo and Beasley at that point. Like there are a lot of different combinations, I think, that you could do this depending on if there's anybody that you really want to start, because the biggest impact offensively the Lakers have with this lineup is that they have not one but two, not just good three-point shooters in Beasley and Russell, but two high volume good three-point shooters, and that spaces the floor and spreads things out in different ways than having a guy who shoots 37 or 38%, but only takes 4 of them a game.
Right. I would be surprised if Vanderbilt started, but the point that you're making insofar as you could find utility with it, I don't disagree. As far as
I don't think he will, but I'm just saying, like, sort of like, I think the lineups you're putting out there are pretty reasonable. And do you want to start a completely new starting five? Like, 3 new guys, 4 new guys with 3 new guys with your 2 stars. Go. Like, that's a lot. Like, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's what you want to do.
No, that feels like a massive undertaking, unless you were putting in guys that are just so good you have to start them. And again, I think Russell is the only of the new guys that absolutely will start. Like, he is one of the 3 guys on this team now that I'm 100% confident that I would be shocked if he wasn't started. The rest of the rotation, this starts getting really tricky and interesting. The guys that I think will be completely outside it are Davon Reed, Wenyen Gabriel, Max Christie. I think they're going to be, for the most part, just completely out of it. From there, Austin Reeves is definitely going to play. Troy Brown is definitely going to play, whether as a starter or coming off the bench. And I think Malik Beasley is definitely going to play. So the other two spots, I would think it's going to be starting out Jared Vanderbilt and Mo Bamba, just if nothing else, to see what it looks like and to see what you have there, because you need to get longer looks at them to begin with. Lonnie is the really tricky one to figure out where he's going to play in here, unless either Lonnie is just better than Malik Beasley, like he just fits better, plays better, whatever, or they decide that there's no need really to play both Vanderbilt and Mo Bamba. Like they just decide that it's not a look.
I think
that
for
really
a lot
works.
of games, and Bamba's got 2 games left, I believe, on that suspension. So, it's going to take a couple minutes for him to be back. I think most games you're not going to see both of them. I think most games,
That's
at least
interesting.
in the short term, you're going to see one. When I say that, I mean both for significant minutes. I don't think you'll see 17 minutes of Mo Bamba and 22 minutes of Vanderbilt on a
That's
lot of
interesting.
nights. I could be wrong. I was wrong that Russ would get traded. That was one of my big predictions. Russ isn't going anywhere this year. I was wrong about that, so I could be wrong about this. But that's we'll get into like what the schedule is showing them and why you kind of need to both balance seeing what it looks like, trying to find combinations with what is the most expedient way we can get to something close to as good as we can be quickly, because we ain't got much time. But like they have the problem of having more rotation quality players than they have real rotation spots. It's a nice problem to have, but it restarts sort of Darvin Ham's learning curve in ways that fans are happy today, but give it a week, and they'll probably be yelling at Darvin again. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the schedule coming up next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel, and the Super Bowl's around the corner. We are stoked about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they are the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, it's even better. I'll explain why in just a second. All the great features that make betting on sports fun and easy, and new customers, join today. Get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place just your first $5 bet. That's it. Sign up for FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, easy to use. So, football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Quick reminder, this episode brought to you by Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnNBA. I think, what I was kind of thinking here is, when you like Hachimura and Vanderbilt, which one do you want? It's like, do I need offense tonight? Do I need a little bit more of a defensive presence? Do I need a guy who can create a little bit more in that space? Or do I need somebody who can really be a much more versatile point of attack type defender? And that's what Vanderbilt would be choosing between him and Hachimura. Am I going really big tonight? Okay. That's Mo Bamba getting more minutes. Do I want to lean still into a very good collection of guards with Schroeder and Russell and Reeves and
Lonnie.
Right. I mean, I think Lonnie could end up getting squeezed. I mean, this is why his game on Thursday, I think, was significant kind of on a personal level, because there's no guarantee he's going to play.
And I want
for him to go out and have 15 points. I thought this was his most confident offensive game in a little while. I'm sure he is well aware of the squeeze that could be coming with these guys arriving, and put on a good performance to make a case for himself.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to make it clear because I've seen occasionally some pushback in the comments section on the YouTube page when we've brought up before the idea of not knowing where Lonnie fits with some of the trades that we thought might be happening, much less what ended up happening, or just when guys came back and the roster was fully healthy. It's not even necessarily anything Lonnie's doing terribly wrong, other than defensively.
It is. That's the thing he's doing terribly wrong. Is defensively, he's just not been very good.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been. But like D'Angelo Russell, for example, is going to be playing a lot, and he's not a good defender. And Malik Beasley, I think, is going to get a long look, and he's not a particularly good defender either. The point being, though, I think what puts Lonnie in a difficult spot is, like, offensively, I'm not sure there's anything that he does so much better than the other guards that even if he's playing fine, you feel the need to have him out there, like a pressing need to have him out there, because his offense has been just fine, but I don't know if it's going to necessarily be missed if he's not on the floor.
Beasley is a better version of Walker.
Yeah.
Beasley on paper, based on their careers to this point, Beasley is what you sort of would want Walker to be, I sort of always view him as like the perfect sixth man, offensive guy coming off the bench who can shoot, shoots a lot and can provide that sort of thing. But is Darvin going to go big? Is he going to go small? Is he going to which version of this group is he going to lean into? Because that's going to make a big difference between, is Reeves going to get 22 minutes a game? Is he going to get 19 minutes a game? 26 minutes? Is Russell going to get 31? Is he like these extra 2 or 3 minutes for some of these guys are going to make a huge difference in terms of who ends up playing and who doesn't, because it's hard to chop up, 240 minutes or whatever it is for an entire team over the course of a game.
Yeah. And Lonnie is somebody that you and I think honestly have been kind of fascinated, maybe overstating it, but very kind of intrigued by just what his role is going to be the whole season. Like when they signed him with the mid-level, part of the reason neither one of us was wild about it is we weren't really even sure what his place was on this team unless they were really sure they were going to be moving Russ, right.
Unless he started playing at a level that he has never played consistently.
Right.
This is why a player like Beasley is valuable. Because the difference between Walker and Beasley is that Beasley has been this guy sustained over seasons, not an all-star, not, a guy who, you build your team around and he's not, whatever. D'Angelo Russell has been an all-star, but he's not a perennial all-star. But these are guys who have shown that they can perform at a certain level, an above average level, over the course of seasons. Vanderbilt filling his role has done that. Walker hasn't, and that's why I was sort of unsold on the signing. And I think for the most part, it's played out that way. He has had some really good stretches. He has had some stretches that weren't, where you understand, oh, this is why he wasn't playing in San Antonio, and they were willing to let him go. We'll see what they do on Saturday, but I do want to, before we go, just just kind of setting the table of what they have in front of them. It's 26 games to go. Looking at the standings, the Lakers finish play on Thursday. It looks like they are 2.5 games behind Portland in the 10 spot. The Blazers not necessarily putting the pedal to the metal at the deadline. They're 3.5 behind Golden State for the 9, and 4 games behind the Pelicans and the Timberwolves in the 7 and 8. So to get into the play-in, they need to jump over Oklahoma City and Utah and then catch Portland and whomever. So they've got work to do just to get up to the 10 seed, sitting at 6 games under 500.
And the
when you look at it, like
the schedule's not easy either.
It's stretched out like the last few days that, they're 2 games out of the 3 spot. Well, not anymore. Now they are, they're a full 5 games behind Dallas for the 4. They're a full 5 games behind the Clippers at the 5. They're full 4.5 games behind the Suns for the 6. And the Suns did just trade for Kevin Durant. So, those top 6 teams got good, also improved in significant ways. It is not a foregone conclusion that even if they play better with these guys, they're going to get where fans and the organization hopes they can.
No. I mean, it's one of the reasons why it was really disappointing that they lost that OKC game. It's just they do not have time to F around. Like, they just don't. Remember when they had heading into that OKC game, they had 28 games left in the regular season. And Dennis Schroeder said that their goal was to go 19-9, which it should be noted, that's like a 680 winning clip. That's like an elite winning clip. If you're winning 68% of your games, like if you look at the standings, there's only a couple teams in the league with a winning percentage around 68%. So that is you saying that we are going to need to perform at an elite level in order to make this happen.
Look at the schedule, and it goes Golden State, Portland, New Orleans, Golden State, Dallas, Memphis, Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Golden State, Memphis. And then, that takes you into early March. Then you see a couple Eastern Conference teams, Toronto, New York. Then it's New Orleans, game against Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, Oklahoma City again, Minnesota again. So this next month, especially, it's a bunch of teams that are playoff caliber, teams that are in the top 10 or very near it right now, which is bad because it's like, wow, that's really hard. But these are all the teams that they're chasing.
Where they may catch a break is possibly 3 games against Golden State without Steph. Like they may have an opportunity to get Golden State at least a couple times in a weakened state. And that would be, you
right. And 2 of the 3 are in LA versus San Francisco. But even then,
no.
They're without Steph, they're definitely a different team, but they're not garbage either. So
no.
Just it's hard, but like that, they're probably the weakest team in there. New Orleans seems to have turned it around a little bit. Memphis, it's really hard. But again, those are the teams that you're chasing. So you at least have an opportunity to gain ground directly by playing the teams that you need to catch. So it's an opportunity. I, for one, Andy, am very excited to see what happens on Saturday in San Francisco against the Warriors. They got to get to know each other quickly. Darvin's got to figure out a rotation quickly. Not a lot of time for experimentation. The Lakers need to start winning some games, but they've got some hope because the roster makes a lot more sense on Thursday afternoon than it did, say, on Monday afternoon. So we'll see everybody maybe after the game on Saturday, but certainly Monday. We'll see y'all next time